Hello everybody, Joel Moba here. As a software tester, we have different activities that are required in our daily work, especially the activity of test design. Test design is answering to the question how to test. And to test, it is better to be systematic. So being systematic and using some testing technique will help us, to develop a small but efficient, set of test cases in order to achieve our goal or a certain coverage. So, and then you have mainly three categories of test techniques. You have the black box test techniques, you have the white box test techniques, and you have the experience-based test techniques. So I focus in this video on a black box test techniques called boundary value analysis. Now, let me explain you first what is really a black box test techniques, which is also known as a specification-based test techniques. So a black box test techniques is only based on the analysis of the behavior of the software. It means it doesn't reference to the architecture or the internal structure of your test object. Therefore, this kind of test cases that are derived from black box test techniques are still relevant as long you don't change the behavior of the software, even if you change the implementation. So in the black box test techniques, in the previous video, we discussed about equivalence partitioning, why it is important for us today. So equivalence partitioning, was based on the fact that we want to take any data element that is related to the software or the tool that we want to test. For example, it can be the input, the output, it can be internal values, it can be interface parameters, it can be term related values or configuration items. Okay, and then you will split them into what we call equivalence partitions. So a partition will be then a group of this element that the system is supposed to treat the same way, process the same way. Meaning if something was wrong, with one value of this partition, it means any value of this partition would have found the defect, and the partition, can be continuous, have continuous values, or discrete, have discrete value. They can be order or maybe not order, unorder. They can be finite or infinite. Okay, then it is important for us because boundary value analysis is a test technique that is based on exercising, the boundaries of equivalence partitions. So to apply boundary value analysis, you must first apply the equivalence partitioning to find the partition, right? And another thing that is important is that the partitions that are used for boundary value analysis must have an order, meaning you should have a minimum and a maximum value for each partition. Okay, and it means that if you have, for example, two elements, to give you an idea of what is order, if you have two elements that belongs to a partition, all the element, between those two must also belong to the partition. Okay, and then what is the motivation behind boundary value analysis? It is because developer tends, to make mistakes, at the partition borders. Sometimes you say, if the person is as more than 18 years old, the person can, for example, drive a car. Okay, as more or equal to 18 years old, the person is an adult. Okay, for example. Okay, and then the developer might just what is the person, is eventually less than 18, or sometimes you have superior or equal, and the developer just put superior, and the equal value will be ignored, to be considered in the case that you want. These boundaries generally have been subject to many issues, right? And then and this is then when these boundaries that can be moved or be placed, this position can be moved, it can cause many problems. You can imagine a system that should give, for example, a credit or refuse a credit to someone depending, or some conditions, and if at the boundaries, of these intervals, and the developer make mistakes, the system will not really reflect what it's supposed to reflect. So that's it. Okay, then you are people generally apply two versions of the boundary value analysis. You have the two value boundary value analysis and the three value boundary value analysis. In the two value boundary value analysis, okay, you will exercise the boundary and a value, in the over partition that is outside the considered partition. Okay, and then the coverage is then when you exercise all the boundaries. Okay, it's when you exercise the boundary when you want to have 100%. Otherwise, the coverage is the number of boundaries you have exercised divided by the total number of boundaries. In the three value boundary value analysis, you exercise the boundary and one value left and one value on the right. Okay, and then the coverage is then exercising the boundary and its neighbors divided by, for example, the total number of boundaries and their values. Okay, now a last thing before we move practically into ChatGPT is that the three value boundary analysis is more rigorous, okay, than the two value boundary analysis, because there are some defects that might be overlooked by the two value boundary value analysis. For example, if you say, yes, I want to check values, of for example, x bigger than 1,000, and the developer made the mistake to write x equal 1,000, and then it checked the next in the next partition. So the two boundary value analysis might overlook that, but not the three value boundary analysis. So then let us now move practically. I know you were waiting for that. And then I will give you here a prompt. This prompt will first help us, to find the partition. Okay, to find the partition. So I will drop here. I've prepared a prompt here that I will explain to you. This is called a role, a role-based pattern prompt. Okay, and here I say, as a senior software tester, I have to design test cases for bank applications, and then I describe some behavior here of the bank depending on value. For example, people with less than 100 euro are normal. Okay, and let us add another condition here. I will say we will also consider that the system does not accept balance less than minus 20,000 euro, and also no balance should be more than 500,000 euro. So I make some a condition here so that we can have invalid partition and valid partition, so that we have a better use case here. And the task here, so I give the value, it will assign people. Here I will put a normal balance. I will put it low balance. For these ones, I have less than 100 and here more than 100. Okay, and then we have some categories here, and the system does not accept balance less than minus 20,000 euro, and also no balance should be more than 500 euro. Okay, because I have the more than 50,000, so I don't want an infinite value here. So the task is to generate equivalence partition for me using the equivalence partitioning test technique and a test case per equivalence partition, and give the output in a table. So I'm telling you to give an output. Let us run it and see what ChatGPT will be finding for us here. Now it is processing, ChatGPT is a large language model, and then it will check, and then here, look, I have the result directly as a table here. You have, in total, we have 8 equivalents here. Partitioning, you see, above 500,000 it is invalid. That's great, you see here, and that's amazing, right? And we will check quickly. Less than risky for -1, normal 1, and here, okay, and for less than 100 it's selected 99.99. It's fine for me. Don't bother here. Okay, then found. So now let us ask ChatGPT now to apply, another task, which is apply the two value. We will continue the conversation here. I will tell him well done. And here I will ask ChatGPT now to generate test cases using the two-value boundary value analysis test technique. Give the output also in a table. So that's interesting that with this prompt, when I say the way it should give me the output, it is great, because it will then give me that in the form that I want, and this is something that you can specify in your prompt. If you want to learn more of this prompt engineering for software testing, I have developed a prompt engineering course for software testers. So this is a course developed by software tester for software tester, and that's much better. So here now we have the boundary. The boundaries are exercised here. Okay, we have, for example, let us take one of them, the normal balance. The normal balance, I see here values 0 and 100 are the boundaries. There is 1 in the 0, 100. This is this one, so we have the 0. We have the 0 and 100 here as values, and here you have also 100 and 5,000. These are the boundaries. Okay, these are all the boundaries here. 5,000 and 10,000 here. So let us all just analyze two of the use cases here. So you see, for normal balance, you look if 0 is a part of the is normal, a 100 euro is classified as low balance. If you take even the one on the right of 100, you see it falls into an equivalence class, and any value in this equivalence class should work. And here in the example of 500,000, here you can also see that 500,000 is exercised and the other one next is rejected. Yeah, so that's it. This is how you can apply boundary value analysis also using ChatGPT. I hope that it motivated you, and I wish you to apply it, and happy testing. All right.